Right. So basically, Not a Spy, he's going to give us a lecture about exercising. So take it away.
Yeah. So, first thing, first. So you decide to exercise, to work out for whatever reason. One, good job. That's big. Just kind of deciding to put the shoes on. Very, very like that's not a small task, right? It's easy to look at someone who's 6 to 7 years down the road in bodybuilding or whatever, and be like, and they say it's easy, which to them it is, but that's because they have 6 or 7 years of habits and hard work behind it, right? So it's it's pretty daunting just to get into it, especially with the modern day. I think you'll agree with me. Um, when you get into some form of training, is a far better word for it. When you get into some kind of training, you look at it and it's daunting. There's supplements, there's styles, there's trends, there's like fashions to it. It's a whole subculture in the modern day, and that's frankly very unfortunate. Like anything in the modern day, it's all capitalized. But if you just get into it with the expectations, reasonable expectations, and are able to cut through the quackery, or if you have a friend who's pretty into it, who's cut through the quackery, you can get really, really good benefits on top of, looking attractive. Health, right? Health is the end goal of it. Um, on top of the expectations, you have to be realistic with yourself. Everybody has different body types, right? There's different body types. There's, I believe the three primary are endo, ecto, and mesomorphic, right? Uh, Samoans are large, like large, right? If you pick like a random Japanese guy, he's probably really skinny, different body types. So if you look at yourself reasonably and you ask like, okay, what body type do I have? What can I do? Because unfortunately, not everyone can deadlift 350 pounds. That's you can put in a lot of time and effort and get past the restrictions of your body type to some extent, but you still can't do things that your body just is not made to do. So genes are a real thing. You hear a lot of people are like, genes aren't that well. No, no, no. Genes are very important. But you're never restricted 100% by your genes on what you can do for fitness. Like I'm a skinny guy, right? I got a 29-inch waist. But I can deadlift 335 pounds. That's because I've been exercising for going on 8 years doing weight training, right? So even though I'm 150 pounds, I can deadlift more than my body weight because I put an extensive amount of time into it. But at the same time, I'm not going to deadlift 450, right? 450 pounds, there's a lot of guys who can deadlift 450 pounds, but they're taller, they're thicker, they're stronger, they have a stronger built midsection, right? That's one of the restrictions of my body. I have a narrow waist, so I just can't do powerlifting things. So we'll get to the three kinds of training, the three major kinds of weight training. This does not include like conditioning. This does not include CrossFit, which as much as people give them crap, CrossFit is a serious form of exercise. They do weird things sometimes, but if you find someone who's seriously into it, you can get a lot of good development out of that. So the three different kinds of strength training from weights are bodybuilding, weightlifting, and powerlifting. Bodybuilding would be for someone who is slimmer, better proportions. You're not lifting heavy weights to lift heavy weights, right? You are lifting heavy weights to get a Romanesque physique, and you can be very, very good at that. That is what your body is made for. You can get very strong while doing it too, but just know that your physique and your strength are not going to be at parity. Weightlifting is that middle ground, right? Weightlifting is your training to lift weights, not powerlifting. That's a whole separate thing. Weightlifting is, you can go in the gym, you can train for 2 hours, right? Actually train for 2 hours and you're knocking out reps the whole time. The other form is powerlifting. Powerlifting is, I know it, you know it, we all know it. Big, bearish, beefy guys like John Paul Sigmarsson, lifting massive, or what's his name, Hafthor Bjornsson or Eddie Hall, huge guys lifting huge amounts of weights. And that's, you know, that shit's cool. That's really, really cool. I grew up watching that. So look at your body, look at your physique, and come to a realistic expectation of what you can get. If you're 5'6", and you weigh 80 pounds before you get into lifting, you're not going to be a power lifter. I'm sorry, man. You're just not going to be a power lifter. But if you are maybe 5'11" and you weigh 160 pounds naturally, and you have a very blocky features, you could probably get into powerlifting and do quite good at it. So again, first thing is have reasonable expectations of what you plan to do. Because if you just go at it with no expectations, that's great. One, that's good. But if you go at it with bad expectations, you know, if you're a skinny guy, and you go into it like, I'm going to be like John Paul, I'm going to, you know, deadlift 800 pounds. I'm sorry, mate, you're not going to. But you could probably run a 6-minute mile back to back to back to back to back. So now that we have those three kinds of fitness out of the way, we can get to the important stuff. Weightlifting. What is weightlifting? It's a contraction of muscle against resistance to build strength. That's really all it is. You're contracting and retracting the muscle in order to build resistance, more or less. Weightlifting operates on the same premise of getting a suntan. Or what's another good analogy? Bone strength, right? Runners have very, very, very strong bones because they run a lot. Their joints are very, very, very strong because they run a lot, right? But their muscles are not as strong as a weightlifter. It's just a simple matter of that's not what they do. But I digress. So you're performing contractions and retractions of the muscle to build strength. Strength consists of three aspects, right? You have, I don't remember the exact physiological terms, but you have the contraction, which is the bone or the muscle tightening, shortening, right? You have the contraction, the retraction, and in between those two, I can't remember the exact term, but you're holding the weight, right? What a lot of guys do is when they get into weightlifting, they either do contraction or retraction, right? So if they do bench press, they'll just knock out 10 and they're not focusing on the whole lift. Or if they do a bicep curl, they're focusing up and down, up and down. It's not going to kill you, but you are wasting a lot of potential of muscle growth, right? So if you allow yourself, so let's say you're doing a bicep curl, and again, this doesn't go for everyone or everything. Everyone's doing different things. But if you're doing a bicep curl, you can focus on the contraction or a controlled retraction to full retraction of the muscle. That will build the muscle in different ways, including the lesser stabilizer muscles. I'm sure that's not the proper term, but stabilizer muscles are peripheral muscles from the large muscle group. So say you have your bicep and your tricep. There's muscles on the side that hold them steady. If you're doing a bicep curl that is on the edge of your strength, you're going to be wobbling. Those stabilizing muscles will kick in to hold it steady. So you're not going all wild and stuff because that can cause injury. So the stabilizer muscles are just as important as the primary muscle groups. That's why when you perform a contraction, you should do it controlled. When you perform a retraction, you should also do it controlled until completion. If you slow down, that increases the intensity of which your body is performing these actions. And at the end of the day, that is the number one thing that most people are missing in the gym. A lot of guys will brag about, dude, I spent 2 hours in the gym today. No, you didn't. You spent 30 minutes in the gym and an hour and a half on your phone. And that amount that you were lifting, it wasn't that great either, because you're focusing, oh, I have to do 45 of this weight, 3 sets of 15 bench press. That's actually not that important. So if we tie back to the basic premise of weightlifting is increasing your strength through contraction and retraction of the muscle. How do we increase strength? Well, we have to break down your reserve ability, your reserve strength, which is this deep well of power, more or less, that you have inside you. If the more fit you are, the harder it is to get to that reserve strength, right? If you're a wimp and you've never done a push-up in your life, you do one push-up, you're going to be screaming in pain. But if you're more fit, you do one push-up, like you don't even realize you did a single push-up, right? What's the difference between those two? One, the person who's never done that push-up is reaching into that reserve strength. They're breaking down their muscle cells, right? Because that is something they've never done before. And through completion of that push-up, they have exerted themselves far more than the person who's done 1,000 push-ups in their lives and a push-up doesn't really bother them. So it doesn't actually matter that much how many you do. What matters is the intensity that you do, right? And this often means higher intensity, higher outcome, but you might do more, right? It's kind of one of those monkey's paw. That's not the right word, but it's kind of a contradiction in a sense, right? If workout plans are very good, but if you keep lifting on a workout plan and you plateau, that's because you're not focusing on the intensity, you're not focusing on getting through to the reserve strength, you're more so focusing on getting the reps in, which when you have an off day and you just don't want to go to the gym and you're working on building that habit, yeah, that's super important. That's really, really important, and that's not something to be underlooked. But we have to remember, intensity is superior to reps. If you do 1,000 repetitions of something and you're not exerting yourself, that is nothing compared to doing 5 good, solid, screaming in pain because you're exerting yourself repetitions. That is something you really, really need to focus on. And like this, the whole schism in bodybuilding and weightlifting, this goes back to like the 80s, I think, the 80s, between the Arnold and Mike Mentzer split. Mike Mentzer was a very intelligent guy. He was the Mr. Olympia runner-up, I believe it was Mr. Olympia, against Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there was a beef between him and Schwarzenegger. Mentzer introduced high-intensity training and high-intensity interval training to bodybuilding, to where instead of doing 2 3-hour marathon workouts, as they were referred to, he would, according to him, he would do 3 hours of exercise a week. And that guy was shredded. But he wouldn't do a set, rest a bit, do another set. He would immediately go from one set to another set to another set to another set. And you would very rarely see him doing high weights. He would be doing high numbers, high intensity, high numbers. He'd be doing a set of, I don't know if this is something actually he did, but just for an example, he'd do a set of 100 bench press with just a plate on each side, which for your regular person, that sounds like a lot. But if you're into if you're a professional bodybuilder, that's actually a very light weight, but that's a very, very, very high count. And the reason for that is because he's trying to break down that initial stamina, break down that initial power to get to the reserve strength, to draw from that to make himself stronger. And the nice thing about when you do these kinds of exercises is you don't need to do high weights. High weights are good. I like high weights. PRs are wonderful. But everybody and their dog knows that the higher weight, the higher likelihood it is to get injured. It's a simple, statistical fact. If I squatted 300, I'd probably kill myself, right? But I can squat 150 25 times, a lot easier and a lot safer. So key thing is on that again, and I just can't say it enough, intensity, intensity, intensity. It does not matter how long you spend in the gym. And that comes with a caveat. I know some idiot's going to pop in and say, not a spy said I can spend 5 minutes in the gym. No, I did not. What I mean is, if you're spending 4 hours in the gym a day, you're wasting your time. You could increase the intensity and decrease the amount of time in the gym, and you'll probably see better outcomes, honestly. That's just something that the training scene tends to miss. There's a lot of one-upmanship. I spent an hour in the gym. Oh, I spent an hour 15 minutes. You guys are losers. I spent 2 hours in the gym. But time in the gym does not directly equate to output and improvement. So again, go to the gym, train, but always keep in mind high intensity, because you cannot supplement high intensity with, or my bad, you can't replace high intensity with time. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. You cannot supplement, or my bad, you cannot replace high intensity with time. You'll see a lot of people who don't want to do the work. As weird as it sounds, they don't want to do the work, so they'll spend a lot of time doing the work. You can see how it doesn't really make sense. On top of that, like I said, workout plans, people will set out workout plans and they'll do them and they'll do good at them, but they won't have improvement. Why am I not seeing improvement? It's because, yes, you're getting the reps in, you're not getting the intensity in. You're not really putting the work in. And a good way to tell it, honestly, and I know a lot of it is unscientific, but if you're sweating hard, right? Do your set of bicep curls and then do your set of tricep presses, and then do another set of bicep curls, and then do another set of tricep presses. Do that 2 more times. You're going to be gassed. You're going to be sweating. Your blood's going to be rushing through you. But by the time you're done with that, over a 10-minute process, you had worked your arms out almost completely. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be exhausted. The next day, you're going to feel it. Now, that comes with a caveat. Soreness does not equate to gains. But soreness is a good sign that you exerted yourself with proper intensity. So just a little rehash of that. Reasonable expectations, right? Reasonable expectations. Don't expect to become the Hulk after just a year. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. But you can't get newbie gains. Newbie gains are real. Those are a thing. Reasonable expectations, reasonable training philosophy. So bodybuilder, weightlifter, power lifter, agility training, right? You have to pick one, because you can't be a power lifter who can do a salmon ladder. Probably could be. I'm sure 1 or 2 exist. But if you're a bodybuilder, or my bad, if you're a power lifter, you're not going to be the most agile person. You're not going to be the most, you're not going to have high endurance, right? You can't run 5 miles if you weigh 250 pounds. So keep all of that in mind and be reasonable with what you want, what you're trying to do. And that way you're not going to kind of throw yourself into the gym with no direction and just have an odd physique, right? So I got those through intensity over reps. Okay. Supplements. You don't need supplements. I'm dead serious. You don't need supplements. You can have whey, but honestly, protein is super oversold. People will tell you you need 1 gram of protein every day if you're looking to build muscle. No, you do not. No, you do not. The amount of protein that your body needs to actually grow that muscle and to maintain is a lot less than people think. Protein is way overrepresented in fitness. Way overrepresented in fitness. In society in general. You know, a lot of guys, I need protein. I'm going to eat meat. I love meat. I really love meat. But reasonable expectations. Like I said, you're not going to add 100 grams of muscle a night. You're simply not. You're a little better with the metric system. How much is 100 grams? And
I'm not better with the metric system.
okay, let's see. 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. It's like 1.5. So 1 kilogram is about 2 pounds. So 100 grams is roughly, I don't know, like 4 ounces, something like that. That's really bad math, but you get what I mean. You're not adding 4 ounces of muscle a day. So you don't need 100 grams of protein a day. In fact, if you look at your muscle growth in relation to your protein intake, it's probably fine.
Hey guys, so I had to do a quick Google. So it looks like you said what, 100 grams?
100 grams, yeah.
So 100 grams, according to Google, it's 3.5 ounces.
3.5 ounces. Okay, there we go. And most guys are 160, 180 pounds. Your average guy's like 180 pounds or something like that before exercise. So that's almost 7 ounces of protein, of raw protein. Your body can't even digest that. Like, I'll be serious. Your body cannot even digest that much protein. It helps, right? If you have like a protein shake every couple days, that's good. That's good for you because your body, or especially if you drink a lot of milk and eat a lot of meat, a lot of good meat, not the bad meat, good meat. That's good for your body. So you should be eating like that anyways, but don't become obsessed with protein. Protein, super overhyped, right? There's interviews with Mike Mentzer, and he actually talks about, he does the math, but he's a really smart guy. He does the math and he breaks down, if you add X amount of weight over a year, how much protein does your body actually need to build that muscle, aside from maintenance protein? And it came to like 3 grams a day. It's not what people think. A lot of that is supplement peddling. Stuff like pre-workout. I love pre-workout, but don't just jump to pre-workout. Pre-workout, creatine, aminos, right? Creatine is in red meat. It's in all meat, if I remember right. It's also in eggs. You get a lot of that naturally, but creatine is not what holds the water in your body. Let's not forget, your muscles are 80% water. That doesn't mean go and drink a ton of water. You're not going to get muscular from that. What that does mean is we need to find what holds that water in your body, right? That's just as important to becoming big when it comes to nutrition as the exercise itself, as the protein, right? And if we look at what actually holds the water in our muscles to let our muscles grow bigger, that would be glycogen. Glycogen comes from carbs. Carbs are incredibly maligned in modern exercise. People hate carbs. You'll even see these like gimmicky diets. I don't know if keto isn't 100% gimmicky. Have you gone on that one? So the keto diet is completely, I would use a word, but I know this is going on YouTube. The keto diet is not what it's made out to be. If you don't eat carbs, your muscles will become soft, flaccid, flabby, because your body is low on glycogen. And glycogen is produced by, if I remember right, it's a product of digestion of carbs, and glycogen is what holds the water in your muscles. So if you're cutting out what holds 80% of your muscle mass in your body, if you're cutting that out, you're cutting out a huge amount of strength and mass growth. Carbs should be about 60% of your diet, at least. About 60%. And it can go up and down a little bit, but about 60% of your diet should be carbs. Uh, whole grains, great, right? Seed bread, that's great. When I say carbs, and this ties to the whole nutrition thing, eat good food. Eat good food. I'm going to say one more time, eat good food. An organic banana costs 10 cents more than a non-organic banana, if even, right? Wonder Bread is garbage. Don't eat it, right? Don't eat white bread. Don't eat white bread. Or if you do eat white bread, eat like French bread or like an Italian, bread. Those are different. They're not that like if your food, okay, here's a good rule to follow. I have two rules actually. Stay with me, bear with me. Great example. I just grabbed some random items from my pantry to give you great examples. Uh, cheese, wonderful. Cheese is great. Um, try to get organic cheese because you don't want to get all those nasty hormones and antibiotics and stuff. I'm gonna say organic a lot. So just assume that most of these things are organic because they are. Um, look at the ingredients. Look at the ingredients. The ingredient list is far more important than the nutrition block. The nutrition block is important, but the ingredient list is actually more important. Ingredients: organic, pasteurized, cultured milk, good. Salt, good. Microbial enzymes. Three ingredients. Three ingredients. That's good. That's good. Here's some jelly, right? Concord grapes, cane sugar, pectin, and ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. That's what, four ingredients. And I can pronounce them all. Here's this is my little cheat. This is a coconut cream pie. But here's the ingredients for it. Unbleached flour, butter, sugar, egg yolks, cream, salt, and then the filling, which is coconut, eggs, cornstarch, and vanilla. Those are good. I don't need to look at the nutrition block of this. I know that this is a cheat, right? I know that this is like the sweet thing at the end of the day. I'm not going to eat one every single day, but I can look at the ingredients and come to a pretty solid conclusion. Yeah, that's not bad for me, right? I have a loaf of bread here. I could do the same thing, but I'm not going to. This is multi-grain seed bread, good stuff, and it's the exact same thing. It's a handful of ingredients. I can pronounce them all, and they're good for you. So carbs, yes. Meat, yes. Dairy, yes. But never forget greens, leafy greens, fruits, right? Fruits and vegetables. And this is one of the reasons why I completely detest the keto diet. It hates healthy things. Just because there's this illusion where like, oh, I'm not eating carbs, so I'm good. You're gonna lose weight, yeah. Yeah, if you're looking to cut weight quick, you can do that. But if you're looking to live, don't do that. Don't do that. Your body needs glycogen so your muscles can get big and strong. I've never seen a single healthy person on a keto diet. I'm going to stand by that statement. I have never seen a single healthy person on a keto diet for an extended period of time. They get kind of like a grayish skin tone. It's not great. So avoid these like whack, weird diets because a lot of them are just gimmicks. They're kind of like new hokey religions. They always pop up every couple of years and people think they're cool. I know that there's a couple actual diets, like I think paleo diet, which is just like eat naturally occurring things. That's fine. That's like a normal diet. User discretion. The biggest thing is you have to learn how to discern what is and is not quackery, much like supplements. A lot of supplements are like you'll get stronger with a little asterisk and it says you need to work harder too. Like that, no, just supplements, throw those out. Throw those out. You don't need them. You can get to them after like 4 or 5 years, maybe, but you don't need supplements, especially to get started. Just have a healthy diet, high intensity exercises, and you will do great. Carbs, protein, and this doesn't mean that I'm completely maligning protein. I love protein. I like a good steak, right? But if your diet, like the fake keto diet, um, is I'm going to just eat meats and fat, and I'm not going to have carbs, you're gonna die. And I know someone's gonna be like, well, actually, according to the science, you can just eat. If you eat only beef, you can actually survive. Yes, Dr. David Duke does that, and he's pretty swole. Um, don't do that. Don't do that. Eat a salad. Eat some kale. You know, have some peanuts, right? Get some vitamin A in you. You know, your body needs. We have molars. Humans have been given molars. Well, you know, depending on whether you believe in evolution or not. We have molars. Do you know what molars are for? They're for plants, right? We're a hunter-gatherer species. What do you think people gathered, right? They gathered berries, they gathered vegetables and fruits. So um have like a varied diet. That's super important. Don't fall for these really weird like, oh, you can only eat steak. Yes, technically you can, but don't do that. Don't freaking do that, okay? That's not healthy. That's not healthy. Dairy, like I said, dairy is really good. Dairy has carbs, it has vitamins, it has a lot of really great stuff. Drink milk. Don't drink a gallon of milk a day. You can, but you don't need to, because the whole gallon of milk a day thing is part of that worshiping protein. Again, your muscles don't need 100 grams or 200 grams of protein a day. That's someone trying to sell something to you. That's someone trying to sell a lifestyle to you. I can give you, or I can give pretty decent tips for getting big. And I'm not going to sell you a thing, because in reality, you don't need to buy fitness. You can't buy fitness, right? Fitness is not a subscription. Fitness is not a university like Hustlers University, right? Fitness is a lifestyle. Eat healthy, be healthy, exercise. It's as simple as that. So we went over glycogen making you ripped. Glycogen is great. We love glycogen. Gets you swole, gets you huge. Intensity, the different forms of exercise, push, pull, hold, do cardio. That's another big one. Do cardio. I've seen plenty of guys say the most idiotic sentence I have ever heard in. That's a lie. One of the most idiotic sentences I have ever heard in my life. Large guys will say, I don't do cardio. I'm big. No, you're fat. Sorry, mate, but you're not big. You're fat. That's like when girls are like, I'm curvy. That's literally the male version of guys saying, or my bad, the male version of girls saying, I'm curvy. No, Stephanie, you're overweight and your heart is screaming. Don't say, I don't do cardio, I'm big. Swim, row. Rowing machines are wonderful. You will get a shredded back. Swim, row, jog. You know, of course, if you're overweight, don't go immediately to jogging, because that will destroy your joints. Also, if you're skinny, don't immediately go to rucking. Rucking is wonderful, wonderful exercise. If you're familiar with rucking, that is putting on body armor or a rucksack or both, and then doing a light jog speed for extended periods of time, 10, 20 miles, something like that. Rucking is very, very healthy, but you have to build your body up to it. That's the thing. With all of these exercises, with all of these exercise styles, if you just jump into it, you're going to hurt yourself. You will hurt yourself. That's why when you see guys look at what's that? Who's that bald guy? Something Goggins, who's like, I woke up at 4 a.m., then I run 30 miles, and they're like,
Oh,
I can
I
do
know
that.
I know who you're talking about, and that guy is cringe, I think. Yeah, if
Yeah,
we're talking about the same person,
I think
then
we are. Yeah.
is he the guy who says I wake up at 3 a.m., do my wife, and then uh then do my work and something like that? Is that the guy?
Probably.
Like,
Yeah,
well,
probably.
but is he bodybuilder or is he just a
um,
business guy?
I think he's just like one of those like manospherians
Yeah,
gimmick artists.
he sounds like it. He sounds like it. Like was he the guy who was attacking Nick Fuentes on
I
the
don't know.
on the Patrick Ben David show? No.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So yeah, like yeah, because like you said something about getting up early in the morning, and I'm thinking, okay, wait, hold on, is this the same guy? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I just put my jelly back in the fridge. Just to wrap up the food thing, healthy food goes bad. Goes bad. You know, some of it lasts longer, right? Like cheese will stay because it's naturally preserved. But if you find yourself going to the grocery store every like 3 or 4 days instead of every other week to get healthy, fresh food, that's a good sign that you're eating healthy, right? Because greens wilt, fruit goes bad, right? You know, you can make it last longer. Modern refrigeration has done wonders for that. And gas treating, what they'll do is like if you find bagged salads, actually, there's a gas in that. I think it's nitrogen, and that prevents it from going bad for like months. It's really weird, but healthy food does not last months. Wonder Bread will last months because nothing wants to eat it. Or like Oreos, those never go bad. Put Oreos in front of ants, they will not eat it. Nature is trying to tell you something. But fresh bread that can grow stale in 3 to 4 days because it does not have preservatives. You're trying to avoid preservatives and like I don't really have a way to like a word for these, but I know we all see the weird chemicals that are put in food. Malahybodextrofibin, or I don't even know if that's even a thing, but you know what I mean. Words like that. Read through the ingredient list. If you can pronounce the words without trouble, you're doing good. That's healthy food. Probably. If sugar is the main ingredient, of course, avoid that. But like I said, you learn to use your discretion. So diet, yes, that was one. Gimmicks. The manosphere, avoid that shit. Avoid guys like Jocko Willink. Avoid pretty much anything he says. Or what's that other, some Kennedy dude, or like that Goggins guy. You'll have these guys who their personality is, I was a Navy SEAL and I'm super duper strong, and then they explained their day. I saw one, it was kind of funny. It was, I can't even remember which one of them it was. It was a short, because I was doom scrolling. I'm very guilty of that sometimes. Everyone does it. And he said, here's the average day. I work so hard. I wake up, then I go on a jog, then I go surfing, then I go to the gym, and then I do 2 hours of meetings and leadership talks, and then I call it a day. It's like, that's, who the hell thinks that's like a normal day? That's a normal day if you're like an online personality. But you should not be taking advice from people who are so out of touch with the common man. Most of those guys haven't even worked a day in their life in reality. I know there's some that are better, right? But the popularized ones are gimmicks. They are gimmicks. They will try to sell you things like fitness supplements. They will try to sell you things like lifestyle plans. Read my book, which isn't written by them, it's ghostwritten. Read my book, wear my product that says my name on it. I'm a man. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. You're better than that. You can learn yourself how to be healthy. That's what we're here for. Eat salad. Eat salad. Um, That's a big gimmick to avoid. Supplements, I've gone off on supplements enough. You don't need aminos. Those are present in healthy food. You don't need protein supplements. That's present in healthy food. If you get enough, if you have, 8 ounces of salmon or good, a pound of good beef a day, right? Or drink milk if you're a vegetarian or vegan, whichever, the one that can have animal products but not the animals. Have some eggs, have a half dozen eggs, right? It's not that hard to get the proper nutrition that you need to function. And if you have a bad diet and then you've corrected that diet, uh, it takes a couple months to change your food palate, because initially a lot of healthy food will taste bad if you have a lot of processed food, if you have a lot of unhealthy things. Like I knew a dude who had it was like a Dairy Queen milkshake every day, and he could not. I'm sure everybody knows someone who drinks like 2 to 3 Cokes every day. I dated a girl who would only eat pizza and drink Coke. I don't know how she was skinny as a rail, but she was skinny as a rail. Um, when you have a diet like that, you're not going to like the taste of healthy things, right? If you throw an apple at that person, they're going to think it tastes bad because their palate is adapted to what they normally eat, which is unhealthy things. And that could go with you too. Once you correct your palate, kale, apple, just cheese, right? Unsalted nuts, those will start to taste delicious. Delicious. I tell you, man, it is wild. Once you correct your palate, all of the stuff, all of the like unhealthy stuff, like Brussels sprouts, that tastes really freaking good. And on top of that, learning to cook for health, huge. You can take healthy things, cook them in healthy ways, huge, huge for health, right? Don't use seed oils, use olive oil or butter, similar things like that. You can use tallow too. There's healthy oils. Every single food item that exists, there's a bad version and a good version. You want that good version, right? You want to be able to teach yourself the habit of picking the healthy option to the point where it doesn't, like, if you don't even realize that you've been eating healthy for a week, you stop and think like, wait, have I been eating healthy for a week? And then you go back and it's like, oh, I had organic peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's healthy. I had a glass of milk with that. That's healthy. What did I have for dinner? I had a banana, an apple, and some cheese with like some salami. That's healthy. You don't even realize you're doing it once you build the habit. That's the thing. Health is a lifestyle. Like I said, health is a lifestyle. It's not an economic choice. It's not a product you can buy. It is habits. It is habits, good, healthy habits. So supplements, fake gurus. Ooh, here's one. Performance enhancing drugs. We all, once you get into the gym, if you've never been into the gym, we all know people who are like, everyone's seen them. I know you knew a couple of them when we were in Arizona, who are like, oh, I just got into lifting. I'm thinking of getting on a cycle. And they're the most physically unimpressive specimens you've ever seen in your life. No, don't listen to that. Do not listen to that. If God wanted you to look huge, he would have built you with the ability to go to that physique. You weren't made to go from 0 to 100 immediately. One, that can damage your skeletal structure, that can seriously mess up your skeletal structure. That can also mess up your hormone system. And people will say, oh no, you're doing it wrong if it messes up your hormone system. No, there is no free lunch. There is no magical trick to make steroids somehow not bad for you. You're going to make yourself sterile. You're going to have negative effects on your hormone system, your endocrine system. Your organs are going to suffer. Your liver. You're supposed to punish your liver with alcohol, not steroids, okay? Don't do that. If someone, it goes back to the whole thing. If someone's trying to sell you something, they're not caring about you. They're caring about pushing product. If someone's trying to sell you steroids or what's what D-bol, I think. I don't know that much about PEDs because they're haram. Uh, just don't even look at it. Don't even think about it because it's short gain, and in the end, that muscle actually doesn't stay around like naturally gained muscle. Naturally gained muscle has a really, really long, like it sticks around a long time. You could go 3-4 months with like minimal exercises and natural muscle strength stays around. You get a little rusty. You'll lose a little bit of strength, but after quick refresher, like 2-3 weeks of refresher exercises, you can get right back to it. So those are big to avoid. Those are the gimmicks. Fake gurus, supplements, PEDs. Avoid those. Avoid those. Right now, what are things to go to? Nutritionists are good. Yeah, they're trying to sell you something, but good nutritionists, those are great. Those are great, right? Fruits, vegetables, right? You don't need a nutritionist if you have a friend who's like big into nutrition. Just talk to them, or like I said, just follow the rule of does it exist in nature? And if it doesn't exist in nature, can I pronounce the ingredients on the list? I've been a proponent of the mostly unknown centurion diet, which is just eat things that a Roman centurion would have eaten. Put yourself back in that time. What would a Roman centurion have eaten? You could eat meat, cheese, produce, all those kinds of things. Don't eat a Snickers bar, right? There were no Snickers bars in 100 AD. But just think, you can look at stuff and say, was bread around? Yes. Yeah. Was cheese around? Yes. Beef was around. I can have a cheeseburger. It sounds goofy, but you can have a cheeseburger. A cheeseburger is actually not that bad for you, if you get it from the right place. If you're eating like McDonald's, that's not healthy because it's drenched in sodium and other preservatives and it's completely unnatural. But if you go to the store, you get a slab of meat, you get a slab of cheese, and you get some bread, grill that up, you're doing good. You're doing fine. Don't overthink it. It's really easy to overthink it. Another thing that you should keep in mind is if you do get an injury, once you learn the difference between muscle, tendon, and bone injuries, because most people who are unfamiliar with exercise, they can't tell the difference. They can tell, yes, it hurts, but they can't tell like, oh, that's my shoulder. That feels like my tendon. Okay, I have an issue with my tendon. What's wrong with my tendon? It's getting impinged. I need to perform exercises to relieve pressure on that impingement so it doesn't get worse. If you are experienced enough, then you can self-diagnose 80% of your problems. Easy. For that 20% you can't, physical therapy is a real thing. Find a physical therapist. If you need a doctor's note, get a doctor's note, whatever. But go to a physical therapist, explain, hey, my shoulder is feeling bad. And they'll poke and prod at you and, bend you around. And then they'll be able to say, oh, that's actually not a tendon issue. That's a nerve issue, or that's a muscle issue that affects the tendon. So you feel it in the tendon, but that's not the source issue. You go after that source issue, and in a couple of weeks, you'll be better. It never happened. Physical therapists are wonderful for that. Always be trying to avoid injury, right? Yeah, I got to chase the gains, but if in chasing the gains you hurt yourself permanently, that's not good. One other thing is actually that's really it. That's really it. So like I said, let's just sum it all up. Reasonable expectations. Discern what you're built for. keep in mind a healthy diet, work out a good program, right? And you don't even need to like write out plans. You could say, today it's my leg day. Tomorrow it's my upper body day. Today is push, tomorrow's pull, or whatever. There is no mystical, magical, this is going to get me the perfect gains, right? That's just not how things work. Thankfully, the world is way less complicated than people want to think. So, healthy diet. Most important thing you can do is, oh, you froze. Most important thing you can do is clean up your diet, right? We can all do that. Drink a little less, smoke a little less, but don't cut out one of the 3 food groups. You have, like I said, protein, carbs, and greens. Greens are rich in nutrients. You need those. Protein is rich in protein. You need that. And carbs give your body glycogen, which makes your muscles grow. On top of that, if you can get one food item that handles 2 things, like salmon, wonderfully healthy. I love salmon because not only does it have proteins, but it also has fatty oils, which are a nutrient, which are good for your brain, your joints, etc. You're never completely screwed, right? If you injure something with proper physical therapy and proper nutrition, I have to stress proper nutrition too, you're never completely screwed. You can work through a lot of injuries, right? I know there are people with like bad knees and there's people with hurt shoulders. But if you get a physical therapist, you should never tell yourself, I can't do that exercise because my shoulder is bad. You just diagnosed your problem, right? Your shoulder is bad. What do you need to do that? Increase omega-3 fatty acids for joint healing, increase some protein intake, go to a physical therapist, recover from that. Modern medicine, as much as I hate modern medicine, physiological, I think that's the word, physiological sciences have done wonders for understanding the human body and how to diagnose and fix programs. The 3 types of muscle movements, contraction, retraction, and then the in-between that bridges those. Remember, you're not just doing the base movement like a bench press. That's not just the retraction. Yes, that's a retraction. It's not just the retraction, it's the contraction back, and it's also the in-between of those 2. So you can build stabilizer muscles. Stabilizer muscles are very important. Those will prevent you from getting hurt. And then, of course, mobility exercises are vital. Perform mobility exercises. Mobility exercises include stretching. Always stretch. A lot of body pains can be resolved with stretching. I had back pain for years. Went to a physical therapist. He said, oh, that's because your hamstrings are tight. And I thought, what the hell are you talking about? You absolute nutcase. My back hurts, not my hamstrings. So I started stretching my hamstrings. 2 months later, back pain was gone. It was, in fact, my lower back was tight because my hamstrings were tight. So a lot of body pains and issues are just the result of not stretching, not exercising, not performing mobility exercises. Things to avoid: fake gurus, supplements, and PEDs. Just don't do those. Just don't do those, man. You're better than that. Whoever is listening to this, you're better than that. You don't need some bald Praetorian telling you to buy their product, all right? You, sir, you're better than that. And you don't need drugs. Don't do drugs. Like I said, alcohol is for punishing the liver, not steroids. And things to keep in mind is, like I said, physical therapists. If you start to come across an injury, nip it at the bud, talk to a physical therapist, find a way to improve it, fix that issue before it becomes an issue. And nutrition.
All right. Well, thank you for the presentation, Not a Spy.
You can't buy fitness. You can't buy health, right? But you can build it. And a good physique, a healthy lifestyle is a lot like Rome. It wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't feel bad if you miss even a week, right? It happens to all of us. What is important is building the habits
Yeah.
and just being better than the day before. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Well, thank you again, Not a Spy, for the lecture. And guys,
Mhm.
remember to like, share, subscribe, and go to the merch store and buy the merchandise, support this channel, and remember, follow Not a Spy's advice, eat healthy and exercise, build a habit, and buy the merch. God bless.
Take care.